Hey, welcome to another race analysis. I'll give you the heads up right off the bat, this one isn't going to go well. We're here at Norwood Cycling Club Tuesday night crits. This is B grade. It's a windy night, which usually means it's going to be a hard race and a breakaway is going to win it. And right off the gun, a few people attack. Some of the usual suspects: Angus Dixon, he goes for a typical first lap attack. Liam Underwood goes with him, and Alistair McClellan in the pink mood kit. I'm carrying a lot of fatigue, so I'm certainly not going in an early break. I drop straight to the back, and for now it's just me trying to warm up as much as possible and survive the first few laps. And I'll tell you, survival is about all I had in me at the moment. As Frank comes past me going down the back straight, we're now into a tailwind. I'm doing 350 watts, sitting in the draft. I'm at the back of the pack, and already I'm worrying that I might not have brought my best game today, and that I've paid $25 for what might be a very short race. We're a lap later. I'm coming out of the top corner. I'm already doing threshold in the wheel, and now I'm up to nearly 500 watts, and I'm just getting gapped off. And this was a bit of a theme of this race. Every time we came around that top corner into the tailwind section, the pace went up dramatically, and it was a whole lot of work to get back up to speed. Coming out of the bottom corner, there's a really strong right to left crosswind at this point, and a very slight rise, but you can see we are absolutely lined out in the gutter. I'm doing 600 watts. And again, really struggling to stay in Nick Underwood's wheel here. Fortunately, as always, as you come round back into the headwind section, there's a little bit of relief and things tend to slow down a little bit. We're only on to lap 4, and already a group of 5 has got off the front, but that group of 5 has already become a group of 6, and now you can see 2 people bridging across to it, and now this is turning into panic stations. I've barely made it off the back of the race so far, so I'm still sitting third to back wheel, and as people are starting to sprint across to it, I'm having to close gaps and hope that I can sort of surf wheels to get back to, if not the front group, at least some chase group that's got a chance of getting there. And you can see big gaps opening up behind. This race is already disintegrating, and of the 23 people who started, only 17 finished. So there was a real risk of people dropping wheels. Fortunately for me, coming into the bottom corner, things slowed up a little bit, and I was able to roll up to the back of a group that eventually got back on. But that little effort did get my heart rate up into the high 180s, especially sprinting out of the bottom corner here. And it took me a little while to recover from this one. So we're approaching the end of lap 6. The race situation is that a dangerous group of 5 has gone off the front and has just been pulled back. Everything slows up. And then Nick Underwood does the perfect attack and sort of kind of rolls off the front with Angus Dixon while everything's going pretty slowly. And this early in the race, we're not even 10 minutes in, there's no immediate response, and they very quickly get a good gap. A full lap later, and we've finally gotten organised enough to start chasing, and after about 3 or 4 people pulled really decent turns, I found myself on the front. I think this is genuinely the first time I've been on the front of a bunch all race long. My heart rate's still at 176, 177, so I'm certainly up there. You can see Angus Dixon coming back. Nick Underwood still up the road, but at this point it's no longer such a dangerous break with just the one rider up the road, so I pull the pin and let someone else come through. The inevitable happens when someone swings off the front like that. Instead of someone else coming through, a bunch of people attacked over the front, and we now had sort of 3 or 4 people up the road, and Nick Underwood still up there. Alex Persico pulled a big turn. That was Jacob Casey in the red and white. He pulled another mammoth turn. And then I get on the front, and I'm doing 300 watts, but I look behind, and instead of there being anyone in my wheel, I've got a gap. I sort of sit up for a bit to see if anyone's going to come into my wheel. I have a bit of a dabble at maybe going on with it at threshold, but realise that the gap's too big. I don't want to sprint across that, and I put the parachute out properly and wait for the rest of the group to get back on my wheel. And this is a strategy I've been using a bit recently, where instead of trying to attack across a gap and get to the group up the road, instead I'll try to motivate the group to work across with me, primarily because I'm not very confident in my ability to actually close those longer gaps by myself. But it does sometimes end up in me doing a lot of work, trying to keep the bunch speed high, and then I end up at a position like this where I've just pulled a big turn. I've been on the front for a minute, and now I'm trying to get back up to speed. Angus Dixon's getting on the front and smashing. Some of the strongest riders are now sitting in the line, And I'm still trying to pull threshold, and I'm still going backwards down the line, and I just cannot get anywhere where I'm getting a sit. I am on the sheltered side, the wind's coming from right to left, but even so, I'm doing 500 watts, and I'm still going backwards. So the problem with this is always that you never want to come off the front going up this back straight, or up the main straight, because it's so hard to get back into the line. And I've now just done a turn where I've been on the front for a minute, and then I've spent another minute just trying to get back up to speed at 500 watts. And I dropped Frank's wheel there, and I'm doing 500 watts again trying to get up to speed, and I'm nearly at 190 beats a minute. So for the cost of pulling one turn, trying to keep the bunch motivated, I'm now chasing wheels. My heart rate's through the roof, and I'm looking like potentially, dropping off the back of this race. And worse than that, because I've gone back so far, I've got no idea what's going on up the road. I don't know if there's people attacking. I don't know if Nick Underwood's come back. And I'm really just chasing my own tail here and hoping that I can get a good line through the corner, which it looks like I do. And now we're coming into the gutter section again. I haven't had any chance to recover. I'm up at nearly 1,000 watts, 700 watts. And finally I get a little bit of a reprieve. But yeah, so just trying to do a little turn on the front, which turned into a disaster. And now I'm really on the back foot. I've burnt a lot of matches, and we're only a third of the way into this race. Right, so we're 5 laps later. I've had chance for my heart rate to go back down to 160 and then back up to 180. And now there's a group of 2 up the road, and then a solo who was going across to them but now seems to be coming back. This is the next time I'm on the front. I haven't seen the front since that disastrous attack I've just talked about. And again, though, I'm only doing 350, 360 watts, and there are gaps opening up behind me, so I'm not sure what's going on here. I think maybe I just took the corner better and managed to get back up to speed in that tailwind. This time, though, once again, I throw the parachute out pretty early because I don't want to be on the front and getting off the front in the headwind section. I know that I can get up to speed and carry a lot of speed through this corner. I know that I can then come out of the corner on the wheel. And sure enough, even though I've got to do a bit of effort to get back up to speed as Angus starts smashing, I'm not running that risk of being stuck out of the line trying to come backwards through here. The only problem is I didn't go far enough back, and now I'm sitting second wheel again. I've just pulled a turn, and I am running that risk now of being on the front in the headwind and then having to try to get back into the line. However, when I do eventually get to the front and pull my next turn, I can see that these 2 up the road, they are coming back, and so I'm not doing an all-out 400 watt effort. I'm taking it really reasonably easy, and I'm letting a short turn go through. I'm also pulling off onto the windward side rather than the sheltered side. It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but you're more likely to get back into the line. People are more likely to let you in. Yeah, as these 2 are finally coming back, there's a few people who aren't wanting to move through the rotation. I'm not going to have that one, so I flick the elbow a bit harder, and fortunately everyone ends up pulling through, and things settle down a little bit. I say they settle down, they don't settle down for long. We just get round the bottom corner, and Nick Underwood launches a massive attack. Frank up the front, he's just sort of rolled off the front. Nick sees him get a bit of a gap, launches across to him. I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I was a bit nervous about those 2 going up the road together. I move close to the front, and this guy in black decides he's going to go. And when Angus Dixon goes, I know that this is potentially a dangerous move. But I don't really commit to this bridge. I'm only doing 800 watts. I think I'm not even getting out of the saddle. Like, looking at my front wheel, I think I'm seated, bridging and closing this. I'm certainly spending a biscuit. My heart rate's up above 180. Yeah, I do spend a bit of energy trying to close this one down. Frank and Nick pull off pretty quickly, and then we've just got people all over the place. And then sure enough, across from the right, there's this lightning attack from the guy in blue. At this point, though, I'm not too concerned. It's just one rider. There's still a lot of road left in this race, and so I'm certainly not going to chase it. Alright, and so this is where this race really goes to shit. There's one guy up the road, he's got maybe 5 seconds. There's a lot of indecision. You can see as we're coming out of this bottom corner that we're sprinting and we're scattered all over the road. It's not a massive effort at this point. I think I'm sitting, 400-500 watts, so pretty normal. I'm on the wrong side here, but there's a gap just up the head. There's sort of 4 or 5 riders and then a gap. Someone manages to close that, and then Liam Underwood in the stripy Guest Picks kit He launches a pretty stinging attack in just a second to try to get across to that guy up the front. And I think at this point, although I'm hanging on for dear life, there goes Liam. Now there's a couple of people up the road, and the pace comes out of it. So now I think we've got 1, 2, and there's a third rider going across. I think the other guy's already come back. I think we picked him up just a second ago. There's a fourth rider going across, and now this is dangerous. We are in the last third of the race. People are going off the front, and I'm doing 370, 380 watts. Frank lets the wheel go, and I'm not attacking here. I'm just trying to pull. Frank lets the wheel go, and all of a sudden I'm out there on my own again. I think that's the third time this race that I've ended up, trying to pull a gap closed and ended up by myself. I probably was a bit indecisive here. I'm at 185 beats a minute. I don't want to try to sprint across that, but I think that was my only shot here, was to really go. Royale Kit here in the red, he does launch across, and I think he might have been the last person to get across this gap. I can see the train leaving the station, so I'm going to try to get on terms with him, but I just don't have the legs at this point. And so I'm punching out of the corner. I'm pushing a bit, but I'm not really sprinting. And then this is, to my mind, this is where you need to go. Alistair in the pink, I was really hoping that he was going to attack across this. He's been fresh. He hasn't seen the front of the race yet. And to my mind, this is when you have to go. There's enough guys up the road now. I think there's 5, 6 maybe up the road. And if you can get across to that, that's a good break to be in. Unfortunately, he doesn't, we don't, and you can see them all coming together up the road. And I'll tell you now, that's the end of the race. They get a gap, they keep a gap, and this group just falls to pieces. Now this group suffers from serious Group 2 syndrome. No one's really working. Frank's been on the front forever. He's cooked. This guy launches an attack rather than bridging. I think I yell at Angus Dixon, come on, I'll work with you. Angus pulls a massive turn. This rips my legs off. I'm right in his draft. We're in the tailwind, and I was doing 300 watts there trying to get up to speed. Angus can take the corner really tight. I think I lose a little bit off his wheel. You can see him squirreling around a little bit there, and he's punching out of the corner. And this kind of effort's it's really good, but it was too hard, and it blew me again. I'm back up to 190 beats a minute. I'm doing 500, 400, 500 watts out of the corner, but it is that little uphill section, and it does bear punching a bit there. But when I finished my turn, I just blew up so hard. I had nothing. That was the end of my race as far as I'm concerned. But nobody came around me, and so after all that, people are they're attacking across rather than pulling turns, which is guaranteeing that this group's not going to go anywhere. Frank, once again, back on the front. I mean, I said he was cooked before, but he just keeps going. Nick Underwood jumps in, and oh shit, I'm still third in line again. Fortunately for me, Frank pulls a long turn, which gives me some hope that maybe I'll be able to recover sitting in Nick's wheel, but he only pulls through for 5 seconds, and then I'm on the front again. And at this point, I think I'd made the call that this was going to be my last pull, whatever happened. So I'm sitting up there at that 370, 380 watt mark. I've only got 5 seconds in me, and that was it. I did not have anything left. That was my last pull. And when the train went past, I didn't have a ticket to get back on, and I sat up and waved it away from the station. And then I spent the next 4 laps just trying not to get lapped, and I managed to survive. I only ended up losing about 35 seconds, 40 seconds on the groups up the road, so having had a couple of laps just to ride it sort of just a bit below threshold, I decided to sprint for the end. I had no one to sprint against, but I was here for a workout, having been dropped off the bunch, and I put down some reasonable numbers given how much work I'd done and how cooked I was. I think I just clipped 900 watts going across the line, but yeah, that was just for fun. So not really a good outcome at all. I had a bit of fun, got my legs ripped off, and went home and slept for about a week. I hope you enjoyed that one, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.